Hello everyone, this is Noah, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about a principle of Kishimoto-Di, which really is a principle that exists in all of old Okinawan te or tea, and that principle is Kobo-Ittai. Now, Kobo-Ittai is simultaneous attack and defense. This is something that is very important to a lot of kata application. And it's important to fighting generally. It can be a little hard for people to wrap their head around it though, because they are so used to some of the more formalized drills where you block and counter. And if you're doing your karate in that fashion, you're not going to have Kobo-Ittai. One of the biggest problems that you're going to run into in fighting and in kata application is the fact that your opponent is going to actually be reacting to things. They're going to be trying to fight. And that means if you block something and then try to hit, at that point your opponent is probably already trying to hit you a second time. And that means that you're essentially taking turns, which is something I've discussed previously. We don't want to take turns with our opponent. We want to take over and make everything our turn. And the best way to do that is to attack and defend at the same time. And a very simple way to do that is if you look at your augmented or supported middle blocks. I'm going to do air quotes a lot for this. If you look at things like this or like this, both hands are moving and doing something, but a lot of the time people will say that it is, to support the block, that you're blocking something extra strong. This one, even all these different variations, they don't make a whole lot of sense as blocking something with extra force. This one I can see why you would say so, but most kata don't actually have the hands flat together like this. They're more often this pointing type of posture of various types. In those types of situations, because both hands are doing something, both hands should be doing something. It doesn't make sense to stick with the idea that I'm doing one thing if both my hands are doing something. So in the case of the opening of pasai, for example, where we have this motion, if we look at the end of Pinan Shodan, or even Pinan Yandan, we have these motions. We have them in the beginning of Kusanku Sho. These types of positions have the ability to attack and defend at the same time on a very, very basic scale. One hand is deflecting and the other is striking, for example. One hand is deflecting, the other hand is striking. So that's a pretty straightforward way of doing it. A more advanced way of looking at it would be something like takedowns. You can avoid your opponent's attack and deflect it, but at the same time enter in and take them down. Same thing with a joint lock. When they attack you with a strike, grab, what have you, you can not only deal with their attack defensively, but offensively as well by immediately putting them into a joint lock. So this is very heavily prevalent in old style Okinawan karate, and it should be. The same thing happens if you watch people in boxing, kickboxing, mixed martial arts. If they punch and their opponent covers up, inevitably their opponent is going to punch, and you end up with two people punching each other at the same time. Happens all the time. And that's not to say that it's not going to happen to you if you train Kobo-Ittai. These things do happen. But if you block and hit, even in a sporting context, you are less likely to end up in just a brawl of trading punches, because you'll be interrupting your opponent's timing, and hopefully that will give you a leg up in your fight.